Hey, Exercise Science. So today we are going to talk a little bit about nutrition. And you might remember from biology that there are three major macromolecules. Macro because they're huge, they're big in their structure. And they are carbohydrates, proteins, and lipids. For our sake in nutrition, the lipids are going to be our fats. You also might remember some of the reasons why you consume these different types of macromolecules or these nutrients. There are also micronutrients, which are like vitamins and minerals that you get from your food that your body needs to function properly. If you're not getting enough of these vitamins and minerals, then you take a multivitamin. But honestly, if your diet is good, you really don't need a multivitamin. But the reason why when you were a kid you took your little Flintstone vitamin is because for the most part, kids' diets aren't totally great. My kids eat, mac and cheese and pizza and grilled cheese, so I give them a vitamin for supplementation. So carbohydrates. Carbohydrates can be simple carbs or complex carbs. The simple carbohydrates are sugar. So you might remember glucose, that's your blood sugar. Fructose, that's the sugar found in fruit. Sucrose, which is actually a disaccharide. It's two sugars stuck together. That's glucose and fructose put together. That's like your normal table sugar, makes things nice and sweet. And lactose is another one. That's the sugar found in milk. That's also a disaccharide. But they're simple because they're made up of either one unit or two units, one sugar or two sugars. And then we have complex sugars, which are just really like a whole bunch of glucose monomers stuck together. An example of a complex carbohydrate that you might be familiar with is starch. So some starchy foods that might come to mind would be like pasta or potatoes. Beans are really starchy, and it's really just all sugar. If you eat pasta, the starch, your body digests that using enzymes, specifically called amylase, into simple sugars like glucose, and then that glucose can then be used for energy. If you consume simple carbohydrates like a piece of fruit or some candy, because it doesn't take time to break it down because it's already really in its simplest form, the body can use that pretty readily. So when it comes to the use in the body and being an athlete, carbohydrates are really important. I know that they can get a bad reputation because you think, carbohydrates, they make you fat, they make you gain weight. But if you're an athlete, you need carbohydrates for energy. And if you are training multiple times a day, carbohydrates become even more important. If you're not training and you're not burning a lot of energy, then you do want to watch your carbohydrate intake, because any sugar or carbohydrate, because carbs are sugar, anything that's not being used for ATP production or energy production is going to end up being stored away as fat. So, if you're an athlete and you have a game in an hour, 45 minutes, the best thing to consume would be a simple carbohydrate. So choose a piece of fruit. I had a soccer coach that used to give us candy at halftime. Before CrossFit competitions, we have like a handful of Swedish fish. These are simple carbs. I know they're obviously candy, your processed sugar, but it does give you a quick burst of energy, which is needed to make ATP. But your best option is probably a piece of fruit or something like that before you go and you play your game for immediate sugar and immediate energy. If you have a game tomorrow morning, right, and it's like 7 p.m., then you would eat complex carbohydrates, so pasta or potatoes, because these are going to provide you with some longer energy production. Even like a couple hours before, you could do something a little bit more starchy, because then that excess glucose will get stored away and used later when you need it. Carbohydrates, from the notes as you guys saw, they have 4 calories per gram. So, let's say that something that you eat has 10 grams of carbohydrates, which actually is not a lot of carbs at all. That would be like mostly your vegetables. Even vegetables are less than that, so there are some starchy vegetables. If you wanted to determine how many calories you would be getting from carbohydrates, you would just do 10 times 4. And you'd get, 40 calories from carbohydrates, and calories are energy. So not a lot of calories from carbs in that particular food. But if you eat something like pasta, where it has 50 grams of carbs per serving, which is a lot, and you multiply that by 4, you're going to see you get a lot more calories from carbohydrates in the pasta. So more energy storage. And then obviously that energy is, or that glucose is going to be used to make energy. This is your body's preferred source of energy. It's basically really easy for the body to use glucose to make ATP. So you do need it, especially if you're very active. The next macronutrient is protein. And protein is basically a really big molecule, and it's made up of amino acids. So you put a whole bunch of amino acids together. Those amino acids fold in different ways, and you get protein. You are basically walking protein from your hair, your skin, your eyes, your nails, the muscles in your body. And because we're in exercise science, we're really mostly focusing on the muscles. So, your muscles are made up of protein filaments, actin and myosin, and they slide past one another during contraction to cause the muscle to shorten, and then they release to cause the muscle to lengthen. And that all requires energy, ATP, which is going to come from the consumption of carbohydrates. But you need protein to make new protein in your body. So when you work out, you're tearing your muscles apart, right? And it's not a bad thing, obviously, unless there's a major tear, but these little tiny filaments, they tear. And those tears are then repaired with the protein from your diet. So you could get protein from animals, or you can get protein from plants. If you have Netflix, there's a really good movie called Game Changers that is produced by Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it talks about major athletes, and there's like a bodybuilder in there that get their protein solely from a vegetarian or vegan diet. And it opened my eyes, because I was somebody who was always like animal protein, chicken and steak and hamburger meat and turkey meat. But there's a lot of really kind of cool information about plant protein in there, and it sort of opened my mind to the fact that you can sustain your body off of just plants. Lots of beans, though. So you need protein in your diet. You need it to, yes, build muscle, but to build all of the other proteins like enzymes in your body. So you need to be getting it from somewhere, whether it's animal or plant. In terms of like working out and protein shakes and stuff like that, you usually hear people like drinking protein shakes 20 minutes after they work out. And the reason is because usually like 15 to 30 minutes after you work out, your cells are most susceptible to wanting to take up that protein for repair. So sure, like you could have protein for dinner a couple hours later, but and it would still work in the same way, but they do say that like 20 to 30 minutes after a workout, your cells are like most ready to take up that protein and use it for repair. They do say to combine that protein with a little carbohydrates, because carbs actually help your body absorb the protein. So a lot of the times, people might mix their protein powder with a little bit of coconut water because there's some carbohydrates in there, or a little bit of Gatorade, because it helps in the absorption of the protein and the usage then of it for repair. And then the final macronutrient, they're lipids or fats. Fats are also really important parts of the body, parts of the cell membrane. They cushion, they insulate, and we need it. You can't be 0% body fat. If you're curious about what it would look like to have certain percentages of body fat, they do have like images online. I have a body fat monitor that if we were in class, I'd have you guys use, and it tells you what percentage body fat you are. It's kind of accurate. The most accurate way of body fat testing is hydrostatic testing, where they use like this dunk tank. And you guys can YouTube that to find out what it is, but it's kind of cool to know what your body fat percentage is. But you need fat in your diet in moderation. There are good fats and there are bad fats. The good fats, the unsaturated fats that you find in oils and stuff like that, and then the bad fats, the saturated fats that can clog the arteries and things found in animal fats like butter. But fat provides long-term energy storage. So, as an athlete, you don't want to eat something that's fatty like 30 minutes before a workout, because you're going to find you have a really bad stomach ache, because fats are harder to digest. They're harder for your body to break down. So when you're working out, you don't want to have to worry about breaking down all that fat. You want to worry about the energy going towards your muscles for movement, right? So you want to avoid something with a lot of fat before you work out. Go mostly for that carbohydrate, because it's going to give you the immediate energy. Fats, longer term energy, you would want to eat this a couple hours before you work out or the night before you work out. Because again, longer term energy storage, harder to break down, provide your body with long-term energy, which you need. If you were stuck in a cave for like 30 days, you could survive, if you had water, of course, you could survive for a month. Your body would first and very quickly within, 24 hours, break down all the stored sugar. So all that glycogen, which is stored sugar, would be broken down quickly. And then your body would start breaking down fat. And then once your body has used up all the fat, then its last resort is to go to protein. Your body really does not want to use protein for energy, because protein is needed to build stuff in your body. And really, like, once 50% of the protein in your body has been broken down, the game is over and you are dead. So if you are somebody who's really curious about nutrition and timing of when you should be eating what foods, you guys can always email me and I'm happy to get back to you. I love this stuff. I spent a good portion of my year last year actually weighing and measuring my food. This is my food scale. And you think it's crazy. It's not for a diet. It's not to lose weight. It's so I know and I can track what it is that I'm eating. It's really simple to use. You basically stick your food on the scale and you weigh it. So like, let's say you want to eat a sweet potato and you want to know exactly how much you're eating. And you know that you want to eat no more than 150 grams of sweet potato. You measure the sweet potato on the scale, 150 grams. That's what you're consuming. And then you can use an app like MyFitnessPal, and you can identify exactly how much you've eaten. So I ate 150 grams of sweet potato, and then it'll tell you how many calories and how many carbs. That's if you're wanting to track your macronutrients. I do it so I know that I'm getting the right amount of food, the right amount of protein, the right amount of carbohydrates, and the right amount of fat, because body composition, even though working out is so important, for your mental health, cardiovascularly, and it obviously can help you maintain weight, it's really like 75% diet. So, somebody who works out every single day, sometimes twice a day, I want to make sure that I am getting the nutrients that I need. I've kind of fallen off of it during quarantine and eaten way too many chips and ice cream, but that's okay. I will get back on track. So if you ever just want to know how many calories you're eating, you can get that MyFitnessPal app and you can sign up. It makes you say that you're 18 to use it. And I like it because you can get an idea of how many calories you're eating, and you might realize, hey, you're way over or you're way under. Sorry, my kids are talking to me. And with the scale, I know exactly how much I'm eating rather than just guessing, like, oh, I think I had one serving. You sometimes will realize, like, you're eating like 5 servings, not just one. I usually try and time my carbohydrates more towards like when I'm working out. So if I work out in the morning, my carbohydrates will be timed around then, and then my fat is later in the day or when I'm not going to be working out. Protein is pretty consistent at each meal. And I'm going to be giving you guys an activity later next week where you can try and calculate how many grams of carbs, fat, and protein that you should be eating based on your body weight and your activity level. It's not 100% accurate. You'd really need to see a nutritionist to get these accurate numbers, but it just gives you kind of an idea. So in case, you're going off to college and you just want to be a little bit more self-aware, it's just good to know where you stand and where you should be. And you might think the scale is crazy, but honestly, once you start using it, you don't even need to use it anymore because you know how much like 3 or 4 ounces of chicken is, and you can eyeball it. So at first it's a pain, but it ends up just sort of making you, like I said, more self-aware of what you're putting into your body. So I hope you enjoyed this and actually stayed on for the 17 minutes. I talk a lot because I miss teaching. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Bye.